Hey, welcome to this workshop on asynchronous coaching. So if you run a coaching business, I'm going to share some new ideas to help you help more clients in more places on your schedule. Let's get right into it. So, some things just never change. And I'm talking about, number one, we as humans, we seek help and we seek to help other people. Getting from point A to point B, it's not a solo effort. And coaching as a profession, it's been around for probably centuries, and it's just in our nature as humans to support each other. And that's why coaching as a career, as a business, as a profession is not going anywhere. If anything, it's growing in new and pretty exciting ways. And again, we as humans, we thrive and we seek out communities to be a part of. So especially with people that share a common goal and relate to a common challenge and experience some of the same wins and challenges along the way. That's what community is really all about, especially folks who are going through some sort of like business community. But some things have changed, especially in pandemic times and the aftermath of how our world has changed, right? We how we actually approach our day-to-day lives professionally and personally, it's been going through what I think is like a massive rethink, right? Number one, of course, our schedules, how we think about our schedules. From people are forgetting about the 9 to 5. We want more time with our families and for ourselves. Being more aware of our daily energy. So when do we actually have the most energy in a day, and when do we have the most to offer? And so we're trying to change the way that we structure our work days around our personal energy levels. And number two is how we consume, right? So of course, this isn't anything new. We're now consuming content in more bite-sized chunks. So like social media, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. And then of course on-demand content. The way that we watch television now, it's Netflix, and even consuming information. Right, we're constantly checking inboxes, and the way that we communicate and actually how we connect. Right, we're moving away from relying on calendars, and we're moving more toward inboxes. Right, taking in messages, sending messages out. This is much more how we actually connect. We rely much less on live communication. And of course, the shift from local to worldwide. It's not anything new. The shift to working remotely and working with people across time zones was happening before COVID, but the pandemic really accelerated that shift. And I mean, my team here at ZipMessage, we are literally across 5 different continents, and we're still a pretty small team. So that's pretty incredible. That's becoming more and more common. And then finally, how we actually make a living is changing in new and exciting ways. I think people are being a little bit more creative and open-minded to finding new ways to offer value, whether it's moving into teaching or coaching or even productizing your consulting business. These are all sort of new shifts that are happening, and they're becoming really viable ways to make a living. So what I really want to focus here in this workshop is how can we actually rethink coaching, right? What does it mean to be a coach in 2022 and 2023 and beyond? How can coaches still help clients win, but adapt to how we all communicate and work today? So I'm going to share a few ideas in today's session, and we'll focus on an idea that I like to call asynchronous coaching. So before we get into that, I'm Brian Casel. I started as a consultant in my career. I was doing design and websites for clients. Later, I spent a lot of time teaching and coaching consultants on how to productize their services and productized consulting. But today, I've shifted more into software, and I'm the founder and I'm the product designer at ZipMessage. That's a tool for coaches and consultants to swap video and audio messages with their clients in conversational threads, all asynchronously. All right, this concept of asynchronous coaching. Like, huh? Like, it's a pretty big word, right? And I mean, frankly, I bet you probably already know what I'm talking about. Um, really, when we talk about things like email or SMS or even posting on social media, these are all forms of async communication. These are async forms of messaging. But why has asynchronous messaging, asynchronous communication, why has that actually caught on in such a widespread way? Well, there are actually three reasons. One, obviously, we're able to respond to async messages on our own time, right? Communicating across time zones. I mean, I'm a morning person, so I like to contribute and send messages and think creatively in the morning. I might be working with someone who is more of an afternoon person or a night owl. They want to contribute in those hours. Or maybe I'm structuring my workday around picking up my kid from school or something like that. Number two, the ability to prep and edit your message before hitting send, right? So, I like to jot down some notes before responding to a message, responding to a teammate. Helps me kind of think through and tighten up. And sometimes it even helps to record my response and then discard it and re-record it so that I can, say it a little bit more succinctly, tighten it up and make it clearer for the other person to receive my response. Async, and this is my favorite aspect of working asynchronously, and that is having space to think about your next response without feeling like you're on the spot. When I receive a message from someone, I like to sit on it. Maybe I like to take a walk, or maybe even sleep on it and respond the next morning. I can gather my thoughts. I can come up with my best possible response. Again, I can jot down some notes. And when both me and the other person or the group of people that I'm communicating with, when all of us are responding this way and we all have this space to think, it means that we have a much more meaningful, and we can each contribute much more to the conversation, and that actually leads to a better outcome, whether it's a coaching conversation or a team collaboration type of conversation. Either way, I found that it is much more productive when we have this space to think in between each response. All right, so I'm going to share a couple of big ideas to help you in your business. So idea number one is to give clients a direct channel. So here's what I mean by that. When it comes to a coaching business, of course, live one-to-one coaching using things like Zoom or Google Meet, those aren't going away. Plenty of coaches work with clients directly, and that's a really valuable exchange of and a building of a relationship in those kind of sessions, of course. But in all the coaches that I speak to, and we see a lot of them using ZipMessage, they tell me that it's the interaction in between those sessions where a lot of the magic happens, right? And so there are actually three ways that you can provide your clients with a direct line of communication, a direct channel. Number one, one reason to do this is to have a space or a channel where clients can send follow-up questions an hour after a live session or the day after a live session. And without having a direct channel for those like immediate follow-ups that happen after a live session, those questions probably wouldn't even have a chance to be asked until maybe your next live session. Or maybe you deal with emails, but that's not the best way to really clarify a point. So, a lot of those follow-up questions go unasked and then unanswered. Number two, another important reason here is that I find that a lot of the quick questions or quick ideas or sharing a quick win in between those live sessions using an asynchronous channel, I find that these like raw, unformed questions can often be the most honest, and they can actually lead to real breakthroughs. Otherwise, coaching clients have to wait until their next session. It might be weeks ahead, and either they might forget about it, or maybe they jot it down and come back to it 2 weeks later, but it's not raw, it's not in the moment. So you're not getting the full fidelity of what they were really dealing with at the time that the question came up. Number three, talking about these direct channels for asynchronous messaging, I think it can help lay a lot of the groundwork. And this is what I hear from a lot of coaches, is that instead of spending the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of a live session, getting up to speed and getting the backstory and maybe setting an agenda, you can deal with all of that asynchronously before the live session even happens. That way, having set all that groundwork, by the time you get to the live session, you both can jump right in. Okay, idea number 2, async group coaching. So working with small groups can be even more valuable than one-to-one coaching in a lot of interesting ways, right? And if you run a group coaching program, you know this really well, right? Group members can learn from each other, and they can share ideas and wins along the way. So, live group sessions where everyone is together in the same place and time, that can be a lot of fun, especially in my experience when people can actually be physically in the same location, like either locally or just flying to a fun location and getting together that way. That can be really, really rewarding. But let's be honest, most group coaching is happening remotely across different time zones, different states and countries and things. So, wrangling a group of students or members together in the same time and place, that's a major challenge. Asynchronous messaging is what actually makes group coaching work. And I mean, like, really work well. Number one, it's the obvious that, forcing group members to adapt to a specific time, that is likely at odds with their own time zone. And that can add a lot of friction to the group, right? It even calls into question whether a group is viable for a particular person who otherwise would be a perfect fit for your group if it wasn't for the time zone blocker for them, right? Number 2, everyone can contribute the best that they have to offer at their best time of day. So again, each person operates on different schedules. We want to hear from each member of our group when when that person is the most productive and when they have the most to offer, right? We don't want to hear from folks or force people to contribute when they're tired or when they're rushing home after their kid's soccer practice or something like that. And number 3, you as the coach, the leader of the group, you're able to actually post messages to the group and run the group more efficiently. You can do things like batching your tasks every week and making it a weekly routine, maybe even bringing some help from an assistant. Ultimately, you're running a smoother coaching business that can actually scale. All right, idea number 3 here, done with you courses. Okay, so, in almost every conversation that I have with coaches, I'm seeing 2 really important patterns come up again and again and again. Number 1, when, a lot of coaches and course creators are telling me that when people buy purely self-serve courses, the success rate for their students tends to be pretty low. And that's because students don't have that extra support or accountability or a trusted partner to help them bust through those roadblocks and get their questions answered. So most students of just courses alone tend to have a pretty low success rate. And the second thing that I notice is that coaches in particular who, they really understand that challenge. So coaches tend to move their coaching services toward offering course modules and other assets along with personalized coaching to help their clients get those wins much more consistently. Hence the term done with you coaching and done with you courses, really one and the same thing. So 3 ideas to make this idea of done with you courses work. So number 1, and I see this a lot where a lot of coaches build a library of assets, course modules, pre-recorded videos, checklists, worksheets, frameworks. These are all assets that goes into a coach's library, like a toolbox, right? And then the coach will curate specific assets from that library and hand select them and assign these assets to specific students based on where each individual student is at in their journey or or based on a particular problem that person, that coaching client is facing right now. They'll pull a framework from here, they'll pull a course module from here to assign to that specific student. And by using this practice of assigning modules with each student or with each coaching client, you can use that as a jumping off point for your coaching conversations, and really personalize the material that way. Number two, attaching asynchronous messaging directly to the course modules. So, the big failure of self-serve courses is that they leave very little, if any, ability to actually interact with the teacher in anything close to real time. So but you offer asynchronous coaching, right? And so you have the ability to make yourself available for those personalized questions and answers right alongside, right in line with your pre-recorded course material. And, make your courses interactive by assigning tasks and worksheets and real questions and answers, all done asynchronously. This is how done with you courses actually ensure your clients can take action, stay accountable, and see real wins, and you really see that success rate with your clients go up pretty consistently. All right, so let's recap the 3 big ideas, and I want to discuss these with you. You can send me a message. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But yeah, let's get into this before we get into any sort of Q&A. So number 1, the first idea was to give clients a direct async messaging channel to use throughout your coaching engagement with them. Number 2 is to run your group coaching programs asynchronously, so that not only are they easier for you to run, but they're even more valuable for your group members when they're run async. And number 3, offer done with you courses to ensure that your clients actually achieve the wins and the successes that they're after. All right, so before we jump into any Q&A with me, I want to tell you about the tool that me and my team have created, and we see a lot of coaches using it. We keep making it better and better for coaches. Of course, it's called ZipMessage, and I'll just tell you a couple things about it real quick. Of course, it's for recording and sending and receiving video, audio only, or text messages with your clients. It's really easy for clients to use. That's a key thing that we designed in the product since day one. Making it really frictionless for clients to just click your link and get into ZipMessage with you. No software or special apps that they have to install. You can create group coaching spaces or private one-to-one message threads with clients. ZipMessage gives you intake pages where anyone can submit questions to you, and they can record those questions for you using video or audio only or writing text. And you can deliver your pre-recorded content, course modules, tasks, and worksheets using ZipMessage's platform, and it's integrated really nicely with the async messaging aspect, so it's a really interactive experience all the way through. And of course, we have Zapier integrations and the ability to embed ZipMessage on your own website, or your other platforms. So we have a basic free plan that you can use for as long as you want, and we also have paid plans for professional solo coaches as well as for teams. So we also give you, and we let you reserve your own name and your URL. For example, mine is zipmessage.com/Brian. So sorry to anyone else who's named Brian, I already got that URL. But that is where you can send me a message and start a new one-to-one conversation with me. So just go to that URL, and then you can actually record and see our video recording interface. All right, so that's all I have. Thank you for watching this workshop. That's my contact info. ZipMessage is at zipmessage.com, of course. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching. See ya.